This is the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast, coming to you from the lucky fourth floor at the Kitchen Studios in downtown Raleigh. This episode is sponsored in part by Spot On, tech that helps your business grow. Request a demo at spoton.com. And GigPro. Change the way you find staff with GigPro. Learn more at gigpro.com/NCFB. And Joe Van Gogh Coffee, serving the community from seed to cup. And now, dry January couldn't end any faster. It's Max Trujillo and Matthew Weiss.
Hello, and thank you for listening to the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. I am your co-host, Max Trujillo.
And I am your co-host, Matthew Weiss. And third time is the charm for St. James in Durham. And here to tell us about it is the chef of that restaurant and also Mateo's Mothers and Sons and Van Rouge, owner and chef, Matt Kelly.
Thanks for having me this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
We're getting a little deja vu here, almost 2 years to the day that you were sitting essentially where you're sitting right now in these studios, talking essentially about the same thing, St. James reopening.
Correct.
What's going on here?
Yeah, no,
Let's frame it a little.
Sure. No. I mean, I'm wide open at this point. I think all is fair and all's game at this point. I just got to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no reason not to. There's definitely like capital issues. I mean, those are very real.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's my job. It's, I've got a contract, I got a lease that I've got to fulfill. I've got, I have dreams that I want to fulfill. I have goals I want to fulfill. And I'm not someone who gives up. I'm just ready to hustle and go to work.
Right. I also think, it's really interesting that nothing or no restaurant seems to mean more to their community than St. James. And I think part of it is obviously your skill level at being a chef and a restaurateur for the first iteration, right? But then obviously what happened and the fire and everything that brought to the community, it meant a lot for it to come back. And now for a third time, just to like beat the odds of COVID and all those things, it's entrenched in the hearts of the Durham citizen.
Yeah.
Sure. We're lucky. We've had a lot of support, but
yeah.
I just like my job. I like to go to work, put my head down and get things done and not deal with like exterior factors and just, focus at the task at hand. And, even, with, the past, with the gas explosion, I'm so kind of done with that. And it's just like, having your focus on reopening a restaurant, building a team, and, creating a good place to work and making guests happy with food and beverage and hospitality. So that's really the focus and the goal.
Yeah, I think we should have a little bit of point of reference to for those that are not aware of the backstory of which we speak. Just to give you a point of reference, Chef Matt Kelly, one of Durham's biggest and brightest talents coming out of Durham. Absolutely love everything that you do there. You opened up St. James Seafood. I want to say it was this back in 2017.
Yeah,
was when it was originally opened. There was also a little time where maybe I was going to work with you at that time.
Yeah, we interviewed.
I wanted to work with you so badly. There was just timing, and there's just so much chaos always happening in the industry. That will be one of my laments when all is said and done. I never worked with Matt Kelly, but the story's not over yet. Who knows, Matt? Maybe we'll figure this out someday. We'll open up like a cookout in Benson or something.
I don't want to open up any restaurants. Yeah, I'm good.
But okay, so opened in late 2017 in Durham's Brightleaf Historic District. It's a seafood restaurant. You got 2 floors. You took over the old, what was the name of the
Fishmongers.
The Fishmongers.
Iconic.
Yeah, it was there for like 35 years or something.
Yeah.
And completely redid it. The place is beautiful. And then, of course, about a year later, I believe there was a horrific incident around the corner on your block where a gas main had been punctured or hit, and it created an explosion, and the building blew up. And we lost 2 people because of that. And your building didn't suffer any structural damage, but the whole block, in a sense, was just destroyed. And
for sure, the neighborhood, I would say, was definitely stalled for a long time. It was unfortunate.
It was affecting. And then, of course, this whole little coronavirus thing, whatever we call it now, comes around and shuts down everything again.
Yeah.
And we had talked to you 2 years ago about after 2017, now it's 2019, the explosion had happened, and you're like, I think I'm ready. We're ready. We're going to reopen. Everyone was excited for that. You did. And you were kicking butt. You were open, and it was busy, and people were like, man, I love this restaurant. It's so awesome. And then we had to shut it down again. And so that happened. And then you kind of reopened during COVID to do
Jimmy's Dockside,
which was like your takeout, your curbside.
Correct.
And that lasted for a good while. And then at some point, you just had to take it down again.
Yeah, I mean, takeout for restaurant. I mean, it's a way to use PPP to keep people want to come back paid and
keep your employees.
Pay some rent and like kind of put hands on holes on the dam. You got to give it a chance. You got to give anything a chance. If it doesn't work, you got to shut it down and kind of hibernate until it's ready again. And that's what we did, and that's where we are at this point.
So I guess the question is, so is it just like the timing wise, because Mothers and Sons came back,
sure,
Vin Rouge came back, Mateo's came back, all. I mean, from my side of the business and my day job, seemingly my impression is pretty successfully had a pretty good 2021. So why is...
Because Matt sells wine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why St. James not till now?
So that's a great question. That's a really good question. First, like, it takes us. I mean, I don't have a lot of there are no part. Josh DeCollars is a partner at Mothers and chef. I mean, he's really the chef and manager, owner, but it just takes a long time to open a restaurant. When I open a restaurant in normal times, I'm usually there like every night the first 2 or 3 months, and then try to have a little bit more balance going on. But during a pandemic and reopening, I mean, everything's just different. Like when someone asks me even now to this day, like, how far are we into this? Like, every half hour is different.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I could drive home right now and I might have how many people, someone test positive for something. Also, it's over the weekend, and that's usually where we see it. But it just takes time to open the restaurant, put the time in, make it put the best foot forward to see if it's going to work, and create culture with new team members and so forth, and the hustle is real. And then while you're doing that, at the same time you're preparing for the next one, and trying to figure out what the team situation is, who's comfortable, who's not comfortable, how you're going to do it, implementing if you put air filters, outdoor dining, the marketing, letting people know you're going to reopen because you haven't been open for a while. Like, all those things take time. It's me and Josh and I at Mothers and Sons, and we have a great manager at Vin Rouge who really took the bull by the horns. Sorry, at VR and.
Ted?
Ted.
Yeah,
Ted.
Give Ted Gallagher a shout out
for sure. Ted, and
why not?
Really pushed forward and
of watermelon fame, Gallagher.
What was
different Gallagher?
Maybe
different Gallagher,
maybe
yeah.
a different type of goofy.
Related.
This is of a Boston descent, Gallagher.
Yeah.
So it's a process for each
also,
restaurant, and like the place that has the least chance of making it, or who's made the least amount of money, or also like. All this thing it takes capital,
right?
And like, if you're open for 29 days before this happens, like you're in a tough place, and c'est la vie. So like, kind of putting the riskier things towards the end, and making sure everything else is at least as stable as you can get it. And if it's not just gushing, then it's like, okay, we can move forward.
Yeah.
But like in terms of like having, you know, in 2021 or having a good year, like I had a great year because I lost one restaurant and I'm now down to 4. But I mean, there's still challenges every day. We have, you know, like one restaurant that has done okay, and the other ones are, you know, treading water.
They're breaking even, sort of close, hopefully.
Not yet. Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
I'm curious as to that, actually. Let's get an answer to that. Why one has done better than the others in this environment we have. But before we want to get out there, I just want you to know something about that could streamline all of your operations and back of the house technologies. Have you heard of Spot On technology?
I have not heard on Spot On technology.
Oh, well, this might be the whole. This is their panacea for all your ails.
I've got the answer for you,
Lay it
Matt.
on
Like
me.
why
What do we
it
got?
didn't do this could do well for you in 2021. So maybe tech was your 2022. So Spot On Technologies is a point of sale system. It's an inventory system. It's a payroll system. It's got everything you could possibly need to help run your restaurant from the back of the house and front of the house standpoints. They have a local woman named Tanya Manibo who helps you get everything on board. They have one of the best technology platforms, and you can do it from your home. You can do it with an iPhone, an iPad. You can do it there. Whatever you need to do, they've got it for you. So Tanya, she's local. Give her a call at 858-213-7820. That's 858-213-7820. Or email her, Tanya M, that's TANYAM, at spoton.com, because at Spot On, business is personal.
And hey, calling all restaurant and hospitality owners, managers, and employees, this is new. This is new for us. You might have heard Chef Ben Ellsworth talk about his new company, GigPro, a couple of weeks ago. But it's official, folks. GigPro is now a part of the NCFB family of sponsors for the show.
Yeah.
See the lights that are on? This one light over here? That's them.
They paid for that light.
They put that light on.
They actually had somebody come in to install it, one of their temporary workers.
Yeah, well, get to know GigPro. They're changing the way people work and hire. They're not just filling shifts, they're bringing instant solutions to the table for the entire industry. So the whole thing is you sign up if you're an employee in the restaurant industry, the food and beverage industry, and you can look at the array of all the jobs that are available by other restaurants in the industry that put all of their available positions out there. So as Ben said, it's kind of like Airbnb meets Tinder in some way, where you can get hired, you work a job, you get a gig, and the employer pays for it. There's a little bit of a fee that goes to GigPro that comes from the employer, but you, the employee, are working essentially you get all the money. Now there is a little bit of insurance that covers you while you're there, but it's like 34 cents an hour.
37 cents, I think, to be exact. I don't want to cheat them out of their
You're probably
3
wrong,
cents.
but it's somewhere in there. So either way, you do that and you pay a little bit here. You have it on your app and you can tell your friends about it. You can gig. You basically can do a paid stage. So right now, if businesses sign up with our link, you get your first gig on us. That's up to $200. You can use it to cover your first gig to fill. So go to gigpro.com/NCFB or click the link in our show notes and sign up. And tell your friends about it, because really this is one of those situations where the more people that do it and the more restaurants that do it, the better the activity is and it makes more sense to run it.
Yeah, it's going to really help with all of our staffing issues, and I'm sure that Chef Matt, you could speak to that. We all can speak to that.
Ugh.
Max, with your new place that you're going to be opening up, it is an epidemic in its own right. So
yeah, if you want it.
Thank you, GigPro, for helping us out. Sign up for GigPro.
So maybe we could even talk about that in a little bit. I know that we even alluded to this before the mics were hot, that staffing was always kind of an issue even before the pandemic and all. In 2019, it was just as hard as it was in 2009, and now, of course, in this situation, it's difficult. It's difficult to get a lot of people to come in and work for a myriad of reasons, and of course, the pandemic is probably the largest of them. But also just like the environment. I know, just as a guy that's in the industry, that a lot of people have longed to work at a Matt Kelly owned restaurant, whether it's Van Rouge or Mateo or St. James. But what I was talking to Chef Ben Ellsworth from GigPro about it was about the passion of the industry, and it's something that, this is me speaking, that I feel is like not there as much as I would like it to be, in that back in the day, you'd be a young line cook or a young bartender or a server or what have you, and it's like you had the dreams of really learning the craft and like learning under somebody that really knows their skill, and that was kind of like part of the payment, was like you worked for somebody that could really teach you a lot. And we kind of have gone away from that a little bit, and we're kind of like, what can the restaurant do for me? How can this make sense for me to get off the couch and come work right now? But I don't know. Prove me wrong a little bit, Matt. Is the passion dead, or is there still some passion there in the industry of the people that you employ? How does that work?
I mean, no. I think it still exists, and I mean, it's my job to make new line cooks.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to sit there and complain about not having any cooks. I want to, show what we do and show a certain, the craft, and it's the way you hire, and it's the people you attract, and continue that and build that up, inspire, and, give people, try to make people as successful as, and help them reach their goals, and whether that's in a kitchen or somewhere else, or whether it's a temporary thing that they just like from one step to step, or they're committed, and this is the craft that they want to make a livelihood out of. But I think it's our job to do that, and you said the word craft. Craft is important. If you're going to put your time and energy into this, it should be learning a craft and, having some goals that you want to achieve. There's also, like exploring and career exploring and so forth. But I mean, if you want to make tons of money and then like money is your goal, I mean, no, it wasn't for me when I started.
Right.
I mean, it's just, I really was enthralled in this. Well, initially, I mean, I was washing dishes at the Red Onion Cafe in Boone, and it was just, to make $4.25 an hour and drink as much Mountain Dew and much free chili as possible.
Get me out of bed. Yeah.
Red Onion Cafe, I mean, the place was right outside my apartment, and there were other things going on, but we're just going to keep it at that. And I know I worked with great people there, and we had a great time. And I look back. I remember opening the dishwasher door, and I looked back and I saw someone, tossing we did pasta primavera in whirl, a butter substitute, and I was like, this is what I want to do. This is it. This is it.
Wait, what? What was the butter?
Whirl. It's like a weird butter substitute.
Like a
margarine?
I can't believe it's not butter kind of thing.
Kind of, yeah.
That sounds gross.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. My veins and arteries are coated in it.
Okay.
And that was it. So to kind of instill that in practice and learn and understand that it's a craft, and understand that it's a viable way to make a living if it's something you want to do. And like, that's really your decision. Like, you should be focusing on things that you want to do. And if it's something you don't want to do, then find that thing.
Yeah.
And that's what I really encourage, when I see someone frustrated in the kitchen, or like, I've even been in a position where I'm peeling grapes or like tourneing veg, and I'm sitting there like, you tell yourself, be quiet, like, have gratitude that you're here, like, you signed up for this, it's your decision.
Yeah.
And I was like, if you don't want to peel grapes, then like, you need to really rethink of like your future and what you want to do. And I was like, no, man, and I did that. I changed. I was like, I really want to peel these grapes for this quail dish.
Yeah.
And be proud of it. And, at that point, being a link in a chain where like, I'm the person who peeled the grapes. I never even got I might even put away the quail, but, I didn't butcher the quail. I didn't cook the quail, and I definitely didn't plate the quail at the time. But, there's a process, and that process is growing I love seeing growth. I love seeing confidence being instilled, and more now than I think sometimes I in terms of food being executed. Right now we've hired, we have people of all ages. We've got a lot of younger kids, and seeing someone come in the restaurant and seeing they just don't know. It's their first, kind of their first view, their first picture of being in a restaurant, or you're even having a job, and not looking at someone when they're talking to them, or not even being able to introduce themselves, and then like 1 or 2 months down the road, you see their confidence level rise. You see how they deliver the plates to the table. You see how they interact with the rest of their team, and they start looking at you and say hello and say, "Hey, how are you doing?" And they put their hand out to shake. Like when you see that, like that's something in my job that I find really gratifying. Just growth and confidence and ability to, do some things that and practice some things. And the more you do it, and other people see it, and then they start practicing, it's a rewarding thing other than just plating some food and moving on to the next plate or the next issue.
I think there's really like a lesson in here for other restaurateurs, chefs, owners, because as Max and I talk about this all the time on the show, it's not something that's really appreciated or done in the restaurant business. Like it's a business. We need to get money and we need to be as profitable as possible. And so, but you're looking at it as a more of like, it's team building. Like you're finding this talent and you're nurturing the talent. And, I have to imagine like you either learned that or that's something that's just innate inside you, because it's like also a very Zen lesson, right? Just peel the grapes. It's a cog in the wheel, wax on, wax off, and just to take it to, I guess, some very specific things. We talked about Skinny, Josh DeCarolis. He worked for you, and now he's come up as an owner. You look at guys like Ted Gallagher, who you plucked out of Boston, somehow got him to move his family down. Now has 3 kids and is running Vin Rouge, who's had a successful 2021. And then something that's very interesting to me to hear about is Jeff Bramwell. So Jeff is your wine director.
Correct.
And Max and I were talking off mic, back in the day when I was coming up in the business as a sommelier, it was the hottest thing to be a sommelier, and people saw value in that, right? And then it kind of flipped back to where it was before sommeliers got hot, where people were like, you know what, I can just hire someone who knows a little bit about wine, but can also be my general manager and do all the other stuff. And then like the wine program will be a secondary role, or if they're interested in that, they can do that. But
a lot of posers.
Yeah, a lot of posers, or just like, the owner of the place is looking at the bottom dollar and not seeing the value in that person driving the profitability of wine. But you saw that in Jeff. He's super passionate, super knowledgeable. He's been on the show just as his own entity. But like to the point where you hired him to run your programs, or maybe even just Mothers and Sons, but he's not the person that's on the floor touching tables, but yet he still provides a lot of value. And so I just wanted to understand from your perspective how you saw that and like explain the value that he provides for you.
Yeah, I mean, I believe in like beverage programs and wine programs. And that's not, I mean, there's a GM, and then if you want to have a serious beverage program or wine program, I mean, you've got to bring someone who understands the craft and just not tasting wine to put it on or buying. It's a bigger picture. It's about educating your team, setting up systems and
not even money
sharing
on the table
passion.
too. Like it drives your revenue, right? It's a huge...
Sure. I mean, I would say we're kind of have nerd programs, maybe. I don't know. Like, yeah, I mean, it does, but like we buy a lot of weird wine, and it just sometimes it takes a lot to sell that, and like I don't know, like I'm into that.
Yeah.
Like so, like if I wanted to make like more money on my wine program, it would be, okay, this is what we're going to buy and this is what we're going to sell. Instead, it's like, okay, who's doing some cool stuff? What people are out there want to build relationships with us, who's like new in the market that we've been waiting for, who has, certain type of practices in their vineyards in picking and, also like finding values, at this point is becoming more and more challenging in the wine world. So you've got to work harder to find wines to share with your guests that there's a level of affordability, because when something's affordable and it's liked and it's delicious, the demand goes up, right? Mm-hmm. And like, why would that person not charge more for their wine? Costs go up; they have to grow. And then you find someone new, or you find maybe new to the area, or an up and coming winemaker, or like a hidden gem that someone like Craig Heffley. I mean, who knows who found them, and share it with a great value, with like-minded and aligned ideas of culture and like how they do things. So I think those are kind of the wineries we like to represent, and we also like some of the older wineries, along with some of the new wineries that do all the natural wines. But there's a lot of old wineries that have been doing natural wines for a long time, and we still really appreciate and love love to represent them along with the new ones.
I want to be totally selfish right now because I have Matt Kelly in this room, and we're now just having a conversation. I'm about to open Crafton, which is going to be in Nightdale. It's a boutique food hall. It's going to have a few different food outlets, but essentially I'm running a full bar program, cocktails, wine, and a coffee shop, and we're doing essentially all the beverage. And I'm going to be buying some of my wine from Matt, right?
Yeah, smart move.
There's a couple of schools of thought, and it's like, one is, you hear, from a bunch of anonymous people, not Matt, I'm saying, like, in general, when we talk about the wine program, like, bro, you're going to Nightdale, just give them what they want, like, just give them the basic whatever, they don't care. And I'm like, no, but the whole point of us going out there was to bring some things that maybe you wouldn't normally get in quote unquote Nightdale, or like in a small town, and like actually like show off, like, hey, let me bring some like cool flavors and some new ideas that maybe we're all just stuck in downtowns of Durham or Raleigh or back where LA, where I'm from. And so I toil with this, like this line to go, like, do I do Chardonnay, Sauv Blanc, Pinot Grigio as like the three whites that I have on the thing, or do I go like, let's do some funky, cool Northern Italian white blend that in the end kind of tastes like what you'd get out of a Chardonnay, but it's more nuanced, and then help be the person that kind of educates the area? Like, do I fight that battle? And would you, Matt Kelly, here's a better question, would you fight that battle starting off like in a small town? Like, what makes more sense to you in those flavors and all?
So I think you said the word flavor. Yeah. Like that's critical. That's like number one, making sure something's delicious. Like you can say like, and like delicious, not just for you, but like the public, you do the, a percentage, like how many people are going to, when I think of something, how many percentage of people are going to find this absolutely delicious. And I think that's a good starting point when you're kind of looking for weird, especially in a market that, like they know what they like and they know what they want, but there are other things out there that might be more value oriented that just have, like, in terms of cost to delicious, ratio, like that's value. And like knowing and putting your time into that and finding what that is, and then educating your team. Yeah, I mean, but that's a lot of work.
That's why you got
that's a lot of
Jeff Bramwell to spend the time to do all that.
That's a lot of work, but I definitely think like introducing new things to people that haven't had it. I think a lot of people look for that, and like pick and choose your battle, or it's not battle, or your introduction.
Right. Which hill are you going to die on?
Yeah, and like, does this person really want to try some sherry? Like, if they've said no, or they, you can tell, then you like kind of move on. Yes.
And it's so funny because I'm looking at keg
I want
wine,
sherry and Miller
Matt sells a sherry in keg, and I looked at it and I knew you were going to be on the show the very next day. I'm like researching last night, and Mateo, famous for an amazing sherry program, and I'm like, man, putting sherry on a tap probably doesn't make sense for Crafton in Nightdale, but like, how crazy would that be to just do something out there? Because sherry is fucking amazing when you put it with really anything. And we're going to have everything available at the restaurant as far as flavors are concerned on the food side. So it's like those are the things you think. You're like, that sounds cool, but maybe that's a little nerdy. And like, how many people are you going to get to go, yeah, give me that sherry with my burger?
Yeah.
It's like, you might not do it, but if you did it, it would be delicious.
But you know, I think that what you're saying just validated everything, and you brought it home with the sherry, because if you think about it, people out there, I think there's two schools of thought, right? Oh, well, you do everything about the flavor and the integrity of the dish and the experience drives your restaurant. And then there's the other school of thought where it's like, well, I need to make money, so if you want Kendall Jackson Chardonnay, it's going to be there, and I'll just charge you 4 times markup, and we'll make money, and everybody's going to drink it, and nobody's going to say boo. But when you think about from this perspective, like Mateo's, you set out and did this amazing sherry program. Why? Because the flavors match. Because it's going to enhance your experience of that flavor. And then what happened? Eric Asimov writes this big article about it. You know, and not to say that that's what set your restaurant up, but business-wise, that certainly helps. And that wasn't your North Star to do that, but there's a saying that value add is going to bring value to your bank account as well.
For sure. And I think if it's something you want to learn about, yeah, put it out there.
Mm-hmm. Play with it.
Yeah, play with it. Also, think of sherry with
will-
wine.
Yeah.
Like, think of sherry as wine. I mean, that's maybe a little bit off top, but like sherry and wine,
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
Like-
sometimes it's put on like this different pedestal.
Yeah.
And
if you just counted it as wine rather than say, oh, this is a alternative
wine,
beverage.
this sherry wine, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, I'm drinking this Oloroso.
It's just
it's
Southern
same as Chablis.
Spanish wine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the English for years, like, you know, you come home and have your bourbon or your glass of wine or whatever, they drink Fino Sherry. You know, that's like their come home happy hour drink. One of the things that you're talking about that is in search of flavor and deliciousness, that, you know, I was thinking today when I had a sip of this wonderful coffee that was brewed here for us, I was like, is this Nicaraguan?
You pulled out Nicaraguan just from the flavor profile?
I just thought,
You know,
it must
Matt,
be.
It actually is Joe Van Gogh coffee that you speak of in the Cerro Antepel Natural Reserve from Matagalpa, Nicaragua, is exactly what you're drinking. Yeah,
It's Nicaraguan.
Nicaraguan with flavor notes of plum, apricot, candied pecan, or pecan, however you want to say it, a little molasses, and like a syrupy body. I like it. There is a honey process in these beans, so like it is literally filtered and roasted with honey, which is an interesting way of doing things. Finca La Brisas, which is the actual coffee that we're drinking, is one of the neighboring farms to our longtime friends at the Selva Negra estate, owned by Catherine Force. Finca or Force. Finca La Brisas means farm in the mists, as it is located high in the Cerro Apante Nature Reserve of Matagalpa. The coffee is grown under shade trees of banana, guava, lemon, orange, and many other varieties that are filled with these different species of migratory birds. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So, the honey process, which is also known as pulp natural, is where the skin of the coffee cherry is removed and the pulp of the fruit is left to dry directly in the seed. This also happens to be Catherine's late husband Hugh's favorite process of methods because it develops fruity notes in the cup and is much more efficient to the process as compared to the natural method due to the great amount of rainfall they receive. We are extremely proud to be the only roaster in the world to have this coffee. Joe Van Gogh is extremely proud to be the only roaster in the world to have this coffee. So to learn more, check our show notes. We'll talk about this amazing coffee and go to joevangoghcoffee.com. Check it out.
Yeah.
It's really delicious. I don't know if you've tried this. It's awesome. This is like different coffee. It doesn't taste like everything you've ever had.
Yeah, it's got this like viscous thing and then a bitter thing. It's cool. All right. So we alluded to this earlier, but one thing I'm intrigued with, and I feel like I'm of the same mind of like pursue the flavor and the business will come. But I feel like business is the thing that I don't grasp all the time. But you seem to be successful in it, whether you admit that or not. You mentioned that one of your restaurants did very well, and I know that in talking with Ted and understanding that the Vin Rouge had a good 2021, and amazingly, as we talked about, with the least amount of staff hours you've ever had, somehow you guys pieced that together. Why were some restaurants successful in 2021 and some not as successful? I mean, just let me rephrase that, because quality from the outside is the same, the service is the same. They're all on the same level.
Sure. So I've been thinking about that a lot.
Okay.
I don't know if I haven't come up with a definitive answer. I think there's certain attributes, or there's certain things that whether it be location, outdoor seating, indoor seating, leadership, type of cuisine, execution. I mean, social media. I mean, pretty much everything in restaurants now is just, I mean, a shadow of like people's social channels. So
yeah, they're either great or horrible, and they live and die by that.
And that I mean, I think I don't want to say completely, but a lot of that defines like where you go, and that's not why I got in this business. I told you why I got in this business. And I was sitting behind it, and I was like, "This is what I want to do."
You didn't get into this.
You
for
have
TikTok?
you have the gene. No. I don't even have an Instagram account. Yeah, I mean, and I think that's a huge factor. Accessibility. Accessibility, like your actual physical location, in terms of how people get in and out, is huge. I mean, that's why you see so many people who's struggling in office buildings, and that's, again, like so many people succeeded and so many people failed, and it's really hard. Like that the idea to blanket anything during the pandemic is foolish, and you just got to hustle and figure out what works best for you, and not give up, or know when to give up. I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
I don't always think stopping is a bad thing. It's not giving up or quitting. It's putting your cards down when you
know when to
unfold them. Which I listened to that song on the way here today.
You can always use a little Kenny Rogers to get you going. Is that?
But I think that's a thing for sure. So yeah, social's huge. I in my restaurants, it seemed like the restaurants that opened up earlier are now, their numbers are a little bit better. We seem to be doing better.
You mean
that's
just
something
like
I noticed.
Daytime? You mean like
No, like just opening. Like the sooner you open, after you closed or came out of the pandemic, or serving or mandated shutdowns or whatever it might be. Like the more you get your gears going and your wheels going, it seemed the more successful the restaurant. I can. For me, for my property specifically, I mean, my type of restaurants, I think, like we want you to come inside. We want you to experience and eat and feel the space, have a relationship with, the person who's serving with you, and from the person at the door, the bartender.
So
we all offer open kitchens, like a real fucking restaurant, right? Like that's what I do, and that's what I've always wanted to do. We did our best to adapt and doing to go, and like neighborhoods were really supportive. The community was I think as supportive as they could be. But like I'm not signed up. Like my lease is not signed up for to go. Like my chef, like I would never, like you wouldn't have to pay someone that much money just to do to go,
right,
and so forth, and a sous chef or multiple sous chefs, and having that infrastructure, like it's just different. I don't need this size space and do this, and you're still carrying like those responsibilities, those financial burdens, or responsibilities.
Well, so you were speaking to some of the, like one of your restaurants didn't essentially make it.
No, we knew. I mean, we just knew we weren't making any money before.
What do you speaking?
At Lucky's. Like Lucky's.
Which was your deli.
Yeah, it was a little sandwich deli
right next
with
door
Drew Brown was our partner and chef there.
Yeah.
And also like 22 months ago when this was going on, you didn't know what COVID was.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know what COVID was. I was like, great, I'm going to sit under a hood and like this sucks everything up in the restaurant and it's going to go hit me in the face, and they're telling us this is what not to do. But you learn how to, I mean, I think in our restaurants we've learned how to do our best and live with the virus and protect us from the virus as best as possible. And, just, follow policy, make sure your policy's safe, make sure it works, keep it consistent. Lead with your head, not with your emotions, and stay consistent and make sure everyone's on board.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. We were talking about just like the industry and like the expectations of working at a place and like what the business gives to you, kind of the hospitality factor. This is my Andy Rooney old man. I got a bitch about something.
Yeah.
But I wonder if you guys would tap into this at all.
We need like tell our sound engineer we need like a button right now. Like a beep, beep, breaking news or
no, this
old
is
man
just,
alert.
Old man alert.
So we call it a boomer button.
A boomer button.
Button.
Yeah,
There you
go.
go. This is my boomer button. Are you familiar with the commercial that came out recently? It's a car company. It's like a hybrid, doesn't use a lot of gas car. And the set the stage is the guy is in his car at the gas station, and he wants to use the window wiper,
yeah.
like to wipe his windshield. And the gasoline attendant, the guy running the gas station, was like, "Hey man, that's for gas pump users only."
Yeah.
And he's like, "What?" He's like, "No gas, no wiper." He's like, "No gas, no wiper? Well, I don't need it because I've got this hybrid that gets me all these miles and all that." And he's like, "Well, this is for only using the gas." And he's like, "Oh, fine then." So then the guy kind of like in a saucy little snazzy way, he puts his credit card in and fills up like 63 cents of gas. And he's like, "You happy now? Now can I use the wiper?" He's like, "Yeah, you can use a wiper now, I guess." So then he uses it. And in this commercial, it makes the gas attendant look like the jerk that is saying like, "Hey, you don't get to use these free things at my gas station because your car doesn't require the thing that I sell, which is gas." And then he looks like the asshole. And in my mind, I'm like, but that's the whole thing. This was hospitality. Like, I opened my restaurant to you. I opened my doors for you to sit down, enjoy the space, and now you're upset at me when I charge you, or like you're upset at the little things. And that's the mentality. This is me like get off my lawn mentality. But why are we mad at the people that are providing the service? Even if the technology has changed or the environment's changed, it's still just a service. Don't get mad at the guy that put out the free things for you to use.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know? Are you guys following me at all? Or am I off?
Yeah. No, I mean, things in businesses cost money, and you cannot absorb them.
Right.
And
it's like the free bread at the table or something.
Yeah, and there are expectations, and people have been eating since the ages of dawn.
Almost since the day they were born. Yeah.
I think there are expectations. For us, we want to meet expectations, and I like traditional dining. I mean, I really like traditional dining. It's one of the when I go on vacation, I love having like a long leisurely European lunch with friends and socializing and like going to a plaza and just relaxing. Like that's a great and seeing different people walk by in a different setting. I mean, I think you see that a lot now in the U.S. People are going to different places just to get a different approach. And but I think like first of all, you kind of you just have to have. You kind of have to just be cool and understand, and the dynamic is on both sides of dining, and the guest is going to be the guest, and restaurants have to adapt, but you have to also hold your ground, and not every place is for everyone. And that's okay. Mm-hmm. And I think if you're that type of person who wants to get everyone through your door, like you're just going to come into certain situations that, like, why? Like you made that decision. I think targeting a guest or even changing a guest's mind, like you have like that certain situation is an opportunity, not. Is an opportunity to engage and teach sometimes, or at least express yourself if you're an artisan with words and hospitality.
Yeah,
and it's also an opportunity. This is not for us. Like this situation or this guest, like we can't make them happy or they're not us.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. I sometimes I think if you're a leader in hospitality or you're running a program or you're, you know, a maitre d' or a GM, like that definitely hurts when you lose someone, or like the ideas that you put on table, like weren't expressed in a way where someone like understood. And like sometimes you go like, yeah, man, like I failed. And other times you're like, oh, okay, let's move on. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
But when you're committed to something and you're really focused and like your goal is to make people happy and have like an awesome time or a really good time or a very relaxed time or an intimate romantic time, and you don't achieve your goal, like I don't know, like I feel it when we see our nightly reports. You know, we don't have like 100% guest satisfaction, but what I do know is like we really try our best.
Yeah.
And I think trying your best, putting your best foot forward, you know, any coach is going to tell that's what you can do.
Yeah. So let's apply this to St. James because it's going to be opening up imminently. Third iteration. Any new things you're doing to sort of ensure success or differences that you want to see in this go round?
You know, I think we've, as Max kind of alluded to, the wine, you know, wine programs and offering kind of like esoteric wines. We're, you know, I had this dish. I'll give you an example. We did this, you know, like swordfish dish with bone marrow, potatoes, and chimichurri, which is really inspired by like a steak dish,
awesome.
right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's 100%.
Yeah, swordfish. It's the steak of the sea.
Yeah, that's fucking out of here. We're done. Like,
That was a hard one to convince.
no, like, and like it's sold well. I mean, like people like it, but like, you know, I think people want things a little bit more comforting, things that are people more familiar with, and I think with reopening restaurants, and at this time, I think chefs, restaurant owners, and sous chefs really need to focus on what people are asking for and what people want, and like, you know, your menu mix.
Yeah.
You know, you need to have a little bit of something for everyone, but that's really like focus for us. It's been really focused. Also, like the cost of goods are crazy.
Yeah.
So if you're not selling a lot of offal, you know, which we weren't out of the gates, like we just took that off because it's, you know, just money going down the drain, and
is
that's
selling
tough.
a lot of offal, unless maybe you're like,
I mean, we always
out there like an animal in LA or something. But
I mean, we've always served. I mean, Vin Rouge, boudin, veal liver, chicken liver. I mean, that sweetbreads. I mean, those. I mean, that's a core for that culture. It's not my decision to say, yo, I'm doing this because, you know, this is the cool rad thing to do. Like, no, this is the cuisine.
That's part of the
like
cuisine.
this is the culture. If I'm not practicing this, I'm not being true to the foundations of that cuisine. So, you know, with blood sausage, we've, you know, also like team infrastructure, a lot of those things take additional skill sets and time to put in, and like that's just not always there for us. I mean, it's definitely not there for me right now or our restaurants, but it's something I think we really miss making. And then it's, you know, just like fried calamari or you know, patatas bravas. We love those dishes, but having an arsenal, being a chef, having an arsenal of ingredients and things to work on that challenge you is like, that's the craft. And that's something, when you feel that and when you have that bug and you got that itch, that urge, you know, that's a challenge. I think a lot of chefs probably in slower markets right now, which there are slower markets. Some markets are busier.
Yeah.
You know, some markets are not. And for us, that's just something we've kind of put on pause for the meantime.
Can you bring it back to that example of the swordfish dish? Because I'm not sure I missed
so
the point.
Sure. So like we 86 swordfish,
But
and
it was a successful dish, like it was selling.
yeah. I mean, it sold, but I mean, there's also a lot of questions with it. So, you know, you also have a lot of new, like you have new teams.
Yeah.
So you want to make it easier for them.
Gotcha.
You know, like it's multifaceted. You want things approachable, things that, you know, might take a little bit less training in the kitchen and the front of house. Most of those things are very tied into each other.
Yeah.
You know, people like to separate them, but like, yeah, man, to teach someone who's never cooked bone marrow again, you're going to have to explain to someone who's never eaten bone marrow or sold bone marrow for a living. So, you know, let's get let's get some alignment, or let's have that conversation.
So the execution becomes difficult. It's not about the flavor; it's the execution from the
execution and like your number. I mean, yeah, man, I can put some weird stuff on my menu.
Yeah,
back in the day, because I'm going to sell it. Like, I'm going to go through it. It's not going to go to waste. Now, like, I mean, we do maybe half the business we do than we did in the past. I don't have that opportunity to sell that volume, and that's why you've got to put like the things that are on the upper tier of on your menu mix on your menu, and some of the things you're going to lose.
Okay. One last question about your menu mix at St. James, and I guess in general. Will there be any sort of octopus dishes on the menu?
I think I'm cooking. We have a lot of octopus at Mothers and Sons and Mateo.
Okay.
So our focus is more regional seafood on the East Coast of the United States, but also along like Florida, the Gulf of Mexico.
Sure.
Octopus is mess a little bit indigenous to this region.
I've never really seen it. I'm sure it's out there.
It's not. It's like Spanish.
I'm from
Japanese,
Western New York and then moved inland to Raleigh, North Carolina. So I don't know what's out there.
Well, the reason I'm asking,
where you going with this?
Because I love when octopus is prepared correctly. And
you're an octophile?
Yeah, you could call that. But there's a big backlash, or gaining backlash, about octopus being a sentient being, so people don't want to eat it, or they feel that way about it. What say you about that?
I mean, that's something in terms of octopus, in terms of just animals in general, is something I think about all the time.
Yeah,
because it's pretty critical to what I do. And with octopus, again, to me, it's about all animals, not one in particular.
Yeah,
I feel like
I tend to agree. I'm just bringing this up because a friend said it to me, who I happen to really respect their opinion. But then I thought to myself the same thing. It's like, well, technically, cows are very sentient beings as well, with a lot of emotions as well.
Oh, pigs! I mean, I've got 40 pigs, and like our pigs are. I mean, they were pretty instrumental during the pandemic, and like kind of keeping us cool and hanging out. And
you have 40 pigs at your. Like
give or take, I don't know how. Yeah,
at
give
your,
or take.
Like ranch.
Yeah, we had some born yesterday.
Or
really?
2 days ago.
2 days ago, yeah.
And they have personalities, and they're living animals. Of course,
sure.
They like are 3-dimensional things. Yeah, but also they get caught in a trap, and then they get put on a slab, and then you eat it.
Yeah,
no, I know.
I mean, that's
But the goal is to like I think really ensure that the animal has a happy life, a good life, and a good place, and it's there's a time for everything. When people talk to me about the farm, it's like, oh yeah, for the restaurants, like your kids. It's like no, like our number one goal, like we practice regenerative farming. Our number one goal is to have happy animals.
Yeah.
What happens after that? We really try to continue that until whatever time it is, and
whatever their purpose be.
Yeah, whatever their purpose be. And the pigs that aren't so nice, usually their purpose kind of ends earlier, and the pigs that are really nice, like personality is a huge thing.
A lesson to society.
Yeah, consequence.
Taking care of the young, taking care of their own, and being able to take care of themselves and being healthy. It's kind of the survival of the fittest. But like in modern times, it's also like being cool and kind, not just like I'm the biggest.
Well, I look at
pig
my
on the
dog
block.
and I'm like, the only reason why you're still
also
living is because you're so cute.
Yeah.
Like my dog's got the like puppy dog eyes, and I'm like, if you were not a like lap dog, you would have died in the wild.
Yeah.
But literally, its defense mechanism is adorable, like quote unquote the word adorable.
Yeah.
Like that's how it lived, because people are like, oh, I can't kill that thing. Look at it, it's so cute.
Sure.
Well, we're just going off the rails here, but no, actually, my brother and sister-in-law, who's always listens to the show,
both adorable,
both adorable. They just got a new dog yesterday. This dog came from Korea, and it is a rescue from a Korean dog farm, meaning that
like where they would use them to eat.
To eat, yeah. So. Talk about bringing that back to like adorable, and
I wonder what his marbling looks like.
Man, Max. sucks. So that's just that's kind of a mind bender for me that they got this dog in rescue, because I guess maybe either he didn't have too much meat or he was too adorable to use for food.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a I'm a big animal lover. So, but I mean, I think we're really fortunate here that we're able to, we have different sources of food. And like when I travel in Southeast Asia, you don't know you see everything when you're traveling in a van through Vietnam. Like you never know what's going to happen. And I mean, it's a different culture. It has a different history. And, it's just something I have an open mind to. The dog thing is, it's
a little hard to swallow.
Yeah.
But I bet Matt Callie could make it delicious.
Oh God,
I couldn't do it. No, zero. Yeah, zero. I'd have like zero
and the
intentions
show is
of that.
taking a new low.
Yeah. No, but I think that's relative. I mean, to eating. I mean,
but when we talk about like the octopus, I don't know if I'm the most informed person to have the discussion with that. Maybe this conversation, maybe I should. I mean, and I'm also the type of person like I don't want to watch a documentary and like boom, guess what? I'm an expert.
Yeah.
No, you're a fucking idiot.
Right.
Like you watch the same thing we all watched. But I think watching something that inspires you to learn more and is always effective.
Yeah.
And
Matt, why?
Maybe
So
I
you
might not
didn't-
want to do that with octopus.
No.
Will you eat octopus?
Yes, that's why I'm selfishly. I wanted Matt to like completely be like, no, that person's wrong, and here's why.
You wanted validation.
I wanted validation because, like I said, I mean, it's one of my favorite things when prepared correctly
That's
to
delicious.
eat.
It's quite. I mean, octopus is quite sustainable. There's really, there's great octopus like aquaculture, Spain, Mediterranean. And what that's done is it's actually this is some things I do know about octopus.
Look at the pro.
You stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last week.
Yeah, totally. And it's populations of different types of species of octopus, different types of octopus have been decimated, and some have gone to extinction. Where, I was talking to a chef in Spain, and he was like, "Yo, I used to get all different types of octopus." He's like, "They don't even exist." So, like, in terms of like aquaculture and how that affects fisheries, like I think it's a good thing. It just with aquaculture and farming on terroir, like on land, like there's good farms and there's questionable farms. Farming practices or how they move. And I think with aquaculture it's the same. And I think it's like using technology, using ideas, using things in the past to build into the future and making sure we have more sustainable food system.
Yeah.
And also environment. So I don't know. I like with the octopus, I have heard some conversations. I've been part of some conversations about, no one can, like, octopus is farm raised. It's farm raised in, the ocean.
Like where you're getting it from? At
Yeah.
Mateos,
We actually get our octopus from Spain. But
It would be really difficult to have free-range octopus fisheries because for the same reason that you just mentioned, Matt, they are sentient beings, and you can't just catch an octopus in the wild.
no, and I mean,
It's extremely
aquaculture
difficult
takes
because they're smart as hell.
Yeah.
They'll hide in a rock. So somebody else had to mitigate the process by
Well,
creating
eventually
a
they
farm.
had to catch one.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they were super
And
stoked when they
propagate 'em,
got a
yeah.
couple of them, and then they created a farm with it because, octopus aren't easily catchable.
No, I mean, I guess not. I mean, I don't think they are. I can't say
We're going
for
off the
certain.
rails over here. We're
But-
getting into octopus.
But certain species are like with university and education and having money put towards that. Like you find out what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah. The
And-
one thing that you shouldn't be doing is throwing octopus on the ice at a hockey game. That's a really stupid thing to do to represent the original 8 games played in the playoffs or so. And like, think about how stupid that is.
But
Like,
they're not actually putting real octopi out there, are they?
Yes,
I think they
Matt,
are.
they are.
Really?
Yeah, anytime. I mean, seriously, like for those that
Okay,
don't
well,
understand
yeah.
what I'm talking about, you do throw, like, there are nutcases that go to hockey games and throw live or maybe dead, but they throw real octopus on the ice during playoff games because it's to represent the original eight
hockey teams
that would go into the playoffs, and basically to say, like, this is the way it should have been, and now you got too many and it's muddling the playoffs. It's not the same. Something to that culture.
That's just idiocy.
But, like, don't do that. That's a stupid thing. If you ever feel like the need to do that, stop it. If you're going to do anything with Octopus, buy it from Mateo, and Matt Kelly and his team have prepared it properly, and that's where you should be consuming your Octopus, or at least having your involvement with Octopus there.
Yeah, definitely go to a small locally owned restaurant and enjoy some octopus.
That's right.
This season.
Well, look, before we get out of here, two things. For one, I got to ask, this has been burning for a long time. John Mayer, good or bad for the Grateful Dead Army? He's performing with with them now. What do they call?
No, I mean, I always want to send positive energy. So,
are you stoked when he gets on the stage?
By the way,
dude,
Matt Kelly is wearing Grateful Dead socks as we sit in the studio.
I'm Jerry all the. I mean, I'm Jerry. I mean,
all the way.
even Bobby. Like, I mean, I'm Jerry. Like, I was always like old in the way type of guy. A lot of David Hunter stuff.
I mean,
yeah,
John Mayer
tough
can
for
rip.
me.
He can play the guitar. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
But does he have does he get the general oomph of the Grateful
I mean,
Dead?
I think he enjoys it. I think a lot of people in the crowd enjoy it. You know, I miss Jerry.
Yeah.
I'm one of those guys. I just
was the greatest moment in your life the final scene of Half Baked when he came back and saved the day?
No, it was probably something in Superbad. But close enough.
Yeah,
close enough.
All right, but for real, before we get out of here,
great question.
We want to send you away with some Proof alcohol ice cream because we like you and everyone else to think differently about dessert. And what they've done out there in Columbia, South Carolina, is they've infused 7% of alcohol into every pint of ice cream, whether it's bourbon caramel or coconut moonshine or coconut rum or strawberry moonshine. They've got amazing flavors. They do seasonal stuff. They are sometimes in North Carolina. But folks, you got to pay attention right now. There's some crazy liquor laws going on right now that are stating that maybe alcohol and ice cream shouldn't be put together in the state of North Carolina and be sold at restaurants or sold in retail stores. So when you see any of this stuff coming around, pay attention, because Proof alcohol ice cream currently cannot be sold in North Carolina.
It's a moratorium right now.
Yeah. So I just want to make you aware of it. They're cool. We have it here at the kitchen, and we're going to send you home with it. But we're going to get that cleared up fast as a society, because sometimes we get a little over our skis when it comes to regulation on stuff. And they'll be able to get back in markets as soon as possible.
Yeah, how dare they tell you can't buy your Proof alcohol ice cream at, say, the Triangle Wine Company, which is another great friend of ours and is a great local shop that provides you with all your wine, beer, vermouth, mixers needs. Great tap rooms. Sherry, thank you. Way to bring it back. Yeah, so check out trianglewineco.com. Use the NCFB promo code to receive a nice discount, or just go to one of their tap rooms, either in the North Bedford area, in North Raleigh, their staple, their flagship store in Cary, right next to the Whole Foods. They're in my neck of woods, Holly Springs, or if you're out playing golf in Southern Pines, check them out there.
Yeah. Well, Chef, thank you so much for being on the show for the second time. We wish you all the best. Look forward to having, we didn't even talk about your flat top double patty burger that you're going to put on the menu.
Yep. Burger.
I want a Matt Kelly burger.
Chicken tenders.
And chicken tenders. Oh, Charlotte can come now.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for reopening for the second time St. James Seafood. That's going to be fantastic to check it out. Should be open any minute now. So check your social media. Not Matt Kelly's Instagram. It doesn't exist. But check out St. James social media, and it should be open when this episode comes out.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you, Chef. Great chatting with you as always. Everybody out there, when it opens, go to St. James in Durham, and you will eat and drink very merrily.
Thanks for listening to the NCFB podcast. And if you've stuck with us this long, review us on iTunes, and remember, 5 stars are encouraged.